Good afternoon. The religious texts of Abraham have no supernatural or godly aspects to them. They are not prophetic. Every single generation has said, oh, we're in the last days, and then things continue. Those cults forced their texts onto our pagan ancestors and gaslighted people. And that's the state of things that they are in now. They are in a state of being gaslighted. They are indoctrinated, programmed to think a certain way about those texts. The modern pagan that functions off of what they've been fed in the Poetic Edda or the Prose Edda or anything about our beliefs of our ancestors is fed that information, gaslighted by those very same people. It was the religious cults of Abraham who translated our lore and gave it to us. And so it's almost like a shame on you. Shame on you for not being more discerning. We know that they duped people today. We know that they forced people then. But yet we look at what they gave us and say, well, that's authentic. That's a shame on you moment there. And we see this in so many different areas. Okay. One key concept is the area of reincarnation. Now, in our book, Northern Paganism, Exposing Abraham, we've discussed reincarnation. We've put in there their actual words, their actual writings about how they changed our lore to sound more like their own. And then they took, like the Greek and the Norse, they took the Celtic, they took the Slavic, and where there were differences, they tried to manipulate them, mold them to all sound very similar to each other and then sound similar to theirs. They admit to it. But yet, we pick up that Poetic Edda. Well, I don't, and people close to me don't. But people pick up that Poetic Edda and they say, this is actual. For instance, in Northern Paganism, Choices and Growth, we've talked about the mistletoe that kills Balder. Mistletoe. We explain what actually kills Balder. We talk about the season of the year, and we talk about Valhalla. Because the modern neo-pagan concept of Valhalla is you live once. So reincarnation has been eliminated by them, just like they wanted to. They want one time around, and then you go to a Valhalla, a heaven, after one life. There's an insult in the Old Norse that is Verrfeðrungr. And this plays into that because they want Valhalla to be a one-time go-around. And then meat and pork with a patriarchal, overruling father god. That this doesn't sound very similar to Christianity. They want Odin to hang on a tree, not wind upon the mast, to bring us Valhalla and reincarnation. They give us words like Valknut. I've heard some really silly stuff. People translate Valknut as the knot of the slain. The knot of the slain. That's what they say that is. What the hell is a knot of a slain? Here's what the Valknut actually is. When you look at the Valknut, you'll notice that none of the three triangles can be separated. They are all intertwined in such a fashion that they cannot be separated. It is the warrior's knot. It is the knot of the valiant. And the valiant are the very ones who are going to be reincarnated because they possess the spirit of Odin. And that spirit is gifted from Mother Goddess Freya. So the Valknut is not the knot of the slain. It is the powerful knot of the valiant warrior, the Einherjar, that's going to be reincarnated into a future generation along folkish lines. Valkyrie is another one. Choosers of the slain. They're choosers of the valiant. We have so many Valfather, father of the slain. Not the valiant father of that is the warrior spirit. So this is a purging of information from our old ways, of what our lore actually says. Because remember, our lore was translated by those Abrahamic people and then given to us in a language that we could understand, but it's erroneous. It contains false information. It contains misleading information. Just like many of the people who go to a Christian church today are going to be read Bible verses and then they're going to make excuses for them. They're barbaric Bible verses that then they try to apologize for and explain away using eisegesis, where you read your own personal feelings into the text instead of just taking from the text what it actually says, exegesis. They eliminate blood memory in our folk soul because our blood memory ties back to our pagan ancestors. Blood memory is once you experience blood memory, then you realize that coursing through your veins is the memory of everything they did to you. All those persecutions, all those forced conversions, all of those family separations, all of those seeing your kin brutalized and murdered, raped. Boudica. Watch your own daughters be raped by the Romans. That blood memory is in you now. Is more than just a generic thing, because you don't reincarnate just a generic person from your past. You are specifically someone from your past. One of your pagan ancestors, you are them. And then when you give up this shell, this physical shell, then you and them and all of them in the past that is being reincarnated will possess a future human shell along folkish lines. So this making things better for the future. See, we don't just strive to make a more positive impact, because pagans are children of the light. As we pointed out in Northern Paganism Exposing Abraham, the God of the Bible, which that word is not used one time in the Bible, as we've shown in that book, that figure is ignorant darkness. Northern pagans are children of the light. And we possess that blood memory, but we don't just hand off something better to our children because it's reincarnation. We hand off something better to ourselves. So to fix the gaslighting, to fix the damage done by the religious cults of Abraham is to fix things for our future self, our children, and thereby us in the future. And that's where Verrfeðrungr comes in. But before I get to that, I want to address something, because this is the delusion that we are presented with. I'm going to use an example of the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast. 666, the number of a man. I've heard some really batshit crazy things about the mark of the beast. And they're all because people have been indoctrinated to believe a certain way. Years ago, people thought, well, the number of the man was Nero. Okay? I just heard a person who identifies as a Norse pagan say that now this is a person who identifies as Norse pagan. The mark of the beast, the Antichrist, his words, not mine, because there is no Antichrist, because there is no Christ. The Antichrist, he said, was Barack Hussein Obama. Because if you add up all of the letters of Barack Hussein Obama's name, there are 18. 6 plus 6 plus 6. That is just, that's silly. I'll be nice. That's silly. We point out what the mark of the beast is in our book, Northern Paganism, Exposing Abraham. We point out, and it's got to do with the beast. And it's got to do with a mark on that beast. And it's got to do with the number of a very specific man, and why they chose that man and that beast. And there's 3 marks on the beast that match the mark on the man. And the number of that man is 6. So you put 3 marks of 6 on that beast, and you have 3 6s. And that is the mark of the beast. And it, again, is just another attack against the divine feminine, because every time that the Bible attacks, it attacks the divine feminine, her belongings, her following. It's an attack against the divine feminine, and it's an attack against our ancient ancestral paganism. So, Verrfeðrungr. Let me get right into that, because we're approaching the 15-minute mark. Verrfeðrungr. It's 3 words into one, but it's an insult. Verrfeðrungr. Ver means worse. Okay? Fether means father. Unger, younger. So it's literally translated as worse, father, younger. It means that you're calling the person that you're calling that to, you're saying that you are worse than your father. There's a degradation going on, not a growth. In our ancestral paganism, growth of your kin, growth of your family size, growth of crops, growth of everything was seen as being blessed by Mother Goddess. So to say you're worse than your father, that means there's a decrease going on. It's an insult to the person you're calling it to. And when we look at where we came from, what are our ancient ancestors, I don't even want to say ancient, because it wasn't that long ago, what our ancestors believed about our ancient gods and goddesses. We are worse off now because we have fear. We have this lack of knowledge. We have this almost a fear of death. Oh yeah, Christians will say they have no fear of death because they're going to go be with Jesus and fall on their face for eternity and say, holy, holy, holy is the freaking Lamb. that's some eternal life. But you have this fear of death inside of them. This fear to function. It is an unworthiness implanted in modern people that wasn't there before. The reason our ancestors lived so bravely, we put it in our book, we quoted them in our book, Northern Paganism Exposing Abraham, isn't because of pork and mead in a Valhalla, the Hall of the Valiant, the Hall of Reincarnation. It was because they knew they were coming back. They knew they were going to be reincarnated. They were going to live again. They were going to inhabit another body. Brynhild says it about Sigurd. The spirit that is Sigurdur Samin shall never die. A reincarnation of the valiant. Well, there's a perfect example too. Sigurd, right there. Sigurd died in bed. He was murdered in bed. He did not die in battle. So Sigurd, the folk hero Sigurd, Sigmund's son, Fafnir's bane, is not in Valhalla. He did not die in battle. He was not battle slain. According to neo-paganism, trust me, he's in Valhalla. He is being reincarnated into, and has been, into the worthy young, Verrfeðrungr. So, religious systems, the religious cults of Abraham, have definitely made it more difficult to not be Verrfeðrungr. Political systems do as well. For we have like a communist system. The communist system is a system where of equal outcome. The Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal. First off, no, they're not. No, they're not created equal. There are certain avenues that I do not have available to me that lawyers and politicians, sports players have available to them. So I do not have those equal opportunities that they do. So that's just it's a gaslighting that people spew forward. All men are created equal opportunity. No, they don't. They don't. The communist system, and this is what I believe that all men are created equal is being changed into, is equal outcome. So that means that no matter how much work you put into something, that your outcome cannot be any greater than someone who puts in very little work. Everybody's on the same playing field. So everybody would then be Verrfeðrungr. So our ancestors who believed our ancient ways and believed in and honored our ancient gods and goddesses would not believe in a communist system or a fascist system. They would not believe in this equality of outcome. So that is what Verrfeðrungr is. It is and it's on other systems as well. I just use political and religious. You can look at it in the education system that teaches bogus history, especially about our northern pagan ancestors, while upholding other elements as being more virtuous, like how Christianity and Islam and Judaism have labeled all pagan cultures that pre-existed them for a long time as pagan and savage, but it's them who use savage ways to convert our ancestors. So we are definitely now in a worse situation than what our forefathers of paganism was. The days of yore, we are worse. We would be looked at, some more than others, as Verrfeðrungr. Now, when we start spewing things out that are definitely Abrahamic, like the knot of the slain and the hall of the slain and the choosers of the slain, and Antichrist is Nero or Barack Hussein Obama, then that is more fitting for those people. So I'll close that there. Remember, you possess somebody else's philia, their soul, their spirit. You are specifically one of your pagan ancestors. Whether or not you honor them is up to you. Remember, all of this is happening outside of time to our folk soul. So you are being compared. Your actions today are compared to their actions then. Your beliefs, your words, your deeds today are being compared to those then, to our folk soul outside of time that is all the now. It's all happening all at the same time. You and them in the future are all existing concurrently. How are you looked at? Are you looked at as someone who is shedding that gaslighting? Or are you looked at as Verrfeðrungr? So until next time, or tils nästa gång, good health.